Folks, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the UFC and the NHL, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Enjoy the show, folks. And I didn't hit pause quick enough, so we got a little bit of the old like flow in there. But hey, what are you gonna do on that front? But
I do miss the horns a little bit.
I miss the horns too. I like the horns. I have to find one of my goals for when I have some mental capacity, and this might not be till the off season, is I want to redo the intro in some way to kind of, it's changed since we started doing video as well. Because it's hard to just sit there looking handsome like we do while the horns go.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you know, not a lot of people who do video content are as lucky as us, Steve, where people can just look into our dreamy eyes and, you know, just kind of be lost in euphoria while the music plays in the background. Some other people just have to get right down into the nitty gritty because they're ugly. So we're not.
You know, it's a hard knock life for some other people, but not for us, Quigs, not for us. And
that's right. You know, I actually want to say, so I'm actually really excited about this. So you just mentioned A Hard Knock Life, and it made me think of rap music.
Because that's what I was referencing.
I'm going to my first, technically my second, but my first real rap show.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to see Kendrick Lamar at the Link.
Oh, wow. That is a legitimate, oh, wow. How about
that?
Really
stoked about that. Really stoked.
After that Super Bowl show, I mean, I would have big expectations for a Link show from Kendrick Lamar.
I think it's going to be pretty big. And I guess...
You think he's going to like burn an effigy of Drake at the 50-yard line?
I don't know. I mean, he's going to do something like he's going to make some sort of comment about the Eagles, I'm sure. And like how they won the Super Bowl and everyone's going to go fucking nuts.
You know, they did win the Super Bowl and it wasn't close. And I think a lot of people forget that.
I really think it's not being talked about nearly enough.
I think I need a sign, like, because I was having, like, I had, like, a full-blown, like, anxiety attack this morning, and, like, just due to the world, and I think I need, like, a sign behind, like, every computer I have that just says, the Eagles beat the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, like, just to make me feel good, because every time I remind myself, it makes everything just a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever been to a rap show before?
This is as incredibly white as it gets for me. I have not.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I guess my first rap show, if we're going to count this, I only count this a little bit because technically I wasn't there to see this rapper. I was there to see Foo Fighters, actually. So it was their 15th,
as white as it gets.
Yeah, it was like their 20th anniversary show or something. And basically they had like a whole mini music festival. So essentially it was, they had some like smaller bands and they had Heart like as an opener, which was pretty sick.
I remember when that tour happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And then randomly LL Cool J was one of the openers.
There you go.
Technically, I was at an LL Cool J show, which honestly was kind of cool.
Like, no, that's super cool. I mean, the ladies love Cool James.
Yeah, yeah. Cool James was great. So that was fun. But this is the first time I'm going to a show where it's like I'm going to see the rapper.
That is the headlining act right there.
Yeah. I want to see JPEG Mafia real bad, but...
Yeah, I think the closest I've come, and this definitely doesn't count, was when I saw Linkin Park. They got Rappin' Mike in there after all.
Dude, Mike Shinoda, baby.
Rappin' Mike! Oh, did I see Linkin Park twice? I definitely saw them with Hoobastank at the Spectrum, to date myself right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I'll tell you what, Teenage Steve had a blast at that show. Teenage Steve had an awesome time. That was a fun time. I think I saw them also at the Family Values tour, but I'd have to double check that.
Linkin Park at their peak was.
I was a fanatic at the time.
Special.
Like now, it's something I listen to now, and like it's one of those things where it's like I kind of go back and forth between like mild embarrassment, but also like I know every lyric. So like
I don't even think it's embarrassing. I just think at the time that music, like Linkin Park, was the shit. And like if you didn't listen to Linkin Park and you were like too cool for Linkin Park, you were a fucking loser. Like everyone listened to Linkin Park and everyone liked it. Like it was so like, dude, like Chester Bennington, R.I.P.D. Just his screaming was, I mean, if I could have one like musical, like heavy, like scream, like the ability to do the scream of some sort of heavy music artist, it would be Chester Bennington, because his screaming was amazing.
Shut up when I'm talking to you.
Oh my god. Amazing.
Shut up. Oh my god. Now I'm obsessed. I know I feel like I do this like once every like 3 years. Yes, I found it. It was the 2001 Family Values tour, which had Linkin Park, Stained was there, so it has been a while. Static X, and my favorite on that tour was Stone Temple Pilots. That's like one of the highlights of my concert going life was that STP show. Like Scott Weiland, whatever drugs he was on that night were magnificent. He was unbelievable. That's one of the best shows I've ever seen.
He was always a great live performer.
Yeah. But that was that also at the Spectrum? That was either the Spectrum or the Farg. I think that one might have been the Farg. I want to say the Farg, but the one that was over at
it's kind of a flex seeing Scott Weiland in the flesh.
Oh, dude, I saw him twice. He was fantastic. And the first time though was like from the side of the stage, so it was like pretty close. So like, yeah, it was. I got some good musical flexes. I think one of the summer episodes we should talk about our music, our concert going flexes. I'm totally into that. We get Charlie on for that one.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah, I know.
Or Kelly. We get Kelly's seen some good damn shows.
But the thing is like 98% of them are Pearl Jam.
So yeah, but you forget, Kelly and I did an entire podcast where we talked about Woodstock 99.
I actually do remember.
Kelly has seen more than just Pearl Jam. Kelly's seen some good shit. Well, this is a summer episode. We're gonna shelve that for the summer. But
that'd be good. Yeah,
I would talk about this shit all night. So I'm excited to hear about your Kendrick experience. Is that in the summer?
It's like the spring. Yeah. So
you know what? I don't think I've ever seen a show at Lincoln Financial Field. I just realized.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed to see one. I was supposed to see the Foo Fighters there, and then Taylor Hawkins died.
Oh,
I had good damn tickets for that show too. I had good damn tickets. Like I was like lower level facing this, like I was like directly on lower level. Like it would have been awesome, but I mean it was tragic. So what happened? We did a whole sad podcast when that happened because we were both devastated, and still it's like weird to think about that actually happened. Yeah,
Taylor Hawkins was the man. It's weird that Foo Fighters are still going. Like,
and they got immediately back up, but
like honestly,
I think Dave Grohl, like he's like a shark where like if he didn't keep playing music, he would just like die on the spot. Like I think he needs to keep playing music. He just can't take a break.
At that point though, and like I guess it's hard to say this for Foo Fighter. I was gonna say if Taylor Hawkins isn't your drummer, then like you're not Foo Fighters anymore. But like he wasn't even the second drummer in Foo Fighters. Like the first drummer was Dave Grohl, then it was some other guy. And then they got. I mean,
the Foo Fighters are basically Dave Grohl and friends, you know, which is because he did the whole first album himself.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when Taylor died, like it felt weird that they released any other music. I was like, dude, you got to just shut it down.
It would have been nice. I thought they should have taken a break. But again, I think Dave Grohl's just a friggin'. He can't stop playing. He just cannot. I don't know what the hell's going on up there, but he can't stop playing. Did you see, I was going to get into the hockey talk, but did you see that they did some Nirvana stuff recently?
Who? Foo Fighters?
Well, not Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselic, Pat Smear, and then they had some different singers. So they did they did a benefit show for the LA wildfires, and they had, oh God, I kind of forget who the three singers were. One of them was from Sonic Youth. Was the other one Pat? But no, not Pat. Was it Joan Jett? Was it Joan Jett? Let's see. We're gonna find out.
Patti Smith.
Well, yeah. Was it Joan Jett? Yeah, I think it was Joan Jett. So yeah, one was Joan Jett, and the other one was Dave Grohl's daughter. They did all apologies with her. She was actually quite good. And then they did one at the SNL 50th concert, and with Post Malone of all people. They did "Smells Like Teen Spirit" with Post Malone, and he was actually really good.
Post Malone, I haven't seen the whole thing, but he did a show or I think during COVID or something. I can't remember, but he did this miniature show where it was him and some band, and they were just playing Nirvana songs, and he was amazing.
You should check this out. He did all of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" with them at the SNL 50th show, and it was cool. He actually did a good job.
He's got talent, man.
I always expect him to be a shitty rapper every time I see him because of the tattoos. I'm always like, this guy's gonna be the shittiest rapper, and I'm like, oh yeah, he doesn't rap, he just sings.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's funny. He's a funny dude.
Yeah, I'm always surprised by it though. What doesn't surprise me is the Philadelphia Flyers being neck deep in trade rumors this time of year, and guess what? They are the belle of the ball right now, or at least they're up there. Scott Laughton. We all thought it was going to be Risto. We all thought the right-handed defenseman was going to be the hot commodity this time of year. And all the rumors right now are involving Scott Laughton.
It's kind of the number one story for the Flyers right now. It started with the Scott Laughton Last Supper photo, which was...
Oh my God. Awesome. I think I have to get that up.
Turns out,
that on the screen.
Yeah, it turns out that he was... trolling with that. I guess, they were just having a conversation, and they were all having, it was him, Travis Konechny, Eric Johnson, and a bunch of the trainers for the Flyers. They were all having dinner together. And I guess the idea came up, let's take a photo like it's the Last Supper, as a joke, this is the last time we're ever going to have in a way road trip meal with Scott Laughton. So they did that and they posted it as a joke, and immediately people were losing their minds. Is he trying to say something? Is he getting traded tomorrow? And then he didn't. But look at that.
Look at that.
Great.
Scott Laughton, it's pretty wild how I got to give a lot of credit to Scott Laughton here, because typically you'll see something billed as the Last Supper and you'll look at it and it's just a bunch of guys on the same side of the table taking a picture. And Scott Laughton actually had the guys pose.
Yeah.
It's he actually recreated the Last Supper. So top-notch trolling. And if he does get traded after this, that's a hell of a way to go out with an image like this. So Scott Laughton with that Last Supper recreation, him in the Jesus role, which if there's anybody I thought of as Jesus, it's Scott Laughton.
Of course.
Weird thing to say. Scott Laughton's bigger than Jesus. You heard it here first, folks.
I love that, as completely insignificant as Eric Johnson is to the Flyers right now, he's still such a huge part of the locker room dynamic and being one of the guys, and him being in the photo and even the face he's making it's just funny. So TK, yeah, in the background.
And are those there's only a couple Flyers that made it into this picture, which I find kind of funny too.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people are trainers.
Yeah.
But really, really well done. I thought it was really funny.
Top-notch work by Scott Laughton, even if it is trolling. It's great. He really did a faithful recreation right there. So, Scooty Lutz, so I guess before we get into all the rumors on him right now, let's say Scott Laughton does get traded, because the odds that we record another true Flyperbole before, around the trade, before next week, probably pretty low. So just thinking offhand right now, what are you, if Scott Laughton does get traded, like what are you remembering Scott Laughton as a Philadelphia Flyer?
So we were having this discussion in the Slack chat earlier. Someone asked, like, what's the top Scott Laughton moment?
I believe that was Kyle, who, by the way, has been crushing it
Really
with
good
the videos right now. So Kyle, keep on keeping on, dude. That's some good stuff right there.
Yeah, Kyle's really doing a good job with video. Yeah, I think if I had to pick one Scott Laughton like moment, I hate saying this. Not much comes to mind, Steve.
He's not a flashy guy.
He's not a flashy guy.
However, I think that's part of the appeal. Like when Claude Giroux's leaving, like you think of him doing those dirty dangles through through the entire Tampa Bay Lightning team. You think of his sick goal to win the outdoor game. You think of him scoring in the Stanley Cup final. When Wayne Simmons is going, you think of him beating the shit out of guys. You think of him scoring awesome power play goals, But then Scott Laughton, you're like,
honestly, the thing I'll remember him most for was, and someone said this in the Slack, was how much work he did on Pride Night. And how he always spearheaded that. I always respected him for that. Like the things that I'll remember him for are not on ice things. It's the off ice stuff. It's the Pride Night. It's how great he was with the young kids. It's how, just how funny he is in a lot of the content that the Flyers put on social media and stuff. And he's like, the goals he scores and like the plays he makes are very, very rarely flashy. But one thing I can say is like, he's a hardworking guy. And, I saw an interesting tweet from Kevin Kurz of The Athletic the other day that really, I think, put into perspective just how good a leader he is, Scott Laughton. So essentially what he tweeted was, where is it? It's somewhere here. So basically he says, Scott Laughton, Bobby Brink, and Eric Johnson were the only skaters on the ice for the optional skate this morning. Yes, Scott Laughton is playing tonight. For what it's worth, Laughton only went on the ice this morning because Bobby Brink wanted to practice tipping pucks and he needed a shooter.
Aw.
I think that's really, like, that's why I feel like he's so highly thought of across the league, like
tearing up over here.
Yeah. Like that's a good leader, and that's something that you would hope that a lot of guys would do that, but seems like not many would. And he was the one to be like, yeah, man, like I wasn't going to go today, but like, I'll do it. I'll help you. I'll be the shooter for you. So like, I think that's awesome. So to answer your question, in terms of on ice, Steve, I can't fucking tell you what the highlight for Scott Laughton is. But
honestly, his best game came this year. It was the 4-goal game against the Red Wings.
Crazy.
With that friggin' slap shot breakaway goal, which was so badass. Like, but yeah, you're right. He's not a guy you think of his on ice contributions. He scored some meaningful goals. Like one of them that we posted in the Slack was an overtime winner that he had in the 2020 playoffs. He's had some good goals here and there, but like that's ultimately not what we're going to remember him for. We're going to remember him as a glue guy. We're going to remember him as a heart and soul guy. I mean, when Sean Couturier was named the captain, a lot of people thought it should have been Scott Laughton. And that's because of how much he means to the team. That's how much he gives on the ice. Like, he's never been the most talented guy on the team. He's not even close. Yeah. But he is always a guy who gives 100% out there. He gives you his all. And he's got that Flyer attitude. Part of the reason I wore the G jersey tonight is because, like, that's almost as meaningful to the locker room of a trade when it happened as what Scott Laughton's going to be. Obviously, the franchise impact is nowhere near the same. But as far as locker room presence goes, this is one of the most beloved guys in the locker room. These guys would do anything for Scott Laughton. And yeah, the pride stuff is amazing. Like, he's been a great representative for the team in that regard. And also, we're forgetting the fact that Scott Laughton happens to be Gritty's best friend. And that's the true tragedy here, is that we could be losing Gritty's best friend. And nobody wants that. I mean, look at these two. Look at these beauties together.
it's really sad that we may not get any photos like that ever again.
Yeah,
But
never.
someone's gonna have to. It seems like someone is always Gritty's best friend. So when Giroux was here, he was Gritty's best friend. Did they take photos like that together? No, but like Gritty was always harassing Claude Giroux on the internet. Look at them.
Look at them. They're adorable.
So they were like Gritty was always harassing Giroux on social media. Giroux gets traded. Then Scott Laughton steps in, and they're taking couples photos together. And I wonder who the next Gritty best friend will be.
Ooh, that's a good question. So I have an early candidate if he sticks around, and that's a big if. But if he sticks around for a couple years, Andrei Kuzmenko could very easily be Gritty's best friend because that dude is goofy as hell.
He's fun as hell. Dude, real quick. All right. So you know what? Let's kind of get into this real fast. So the Flyers played a game. Let's real quickly just kind of talk about the game that they played on.
They played a weird ass game.
Weird fucking game, but they played against a couple familiar faces on the Calgary Flames. So Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost made their return to Philly. And it was a bit of a revenge game. Joel Farabee didn't score. He didn't do anything. He's now recorded just 1 point in I think like 10 or 11 games. So
not having a good time.
Not good. But Morgan Frost played pretty well. He had a couple of assists. But it wasn't just a revenge game for Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. It was also a revenge game for Andrei Kuzmenko and Jacob Pelche. Jacob Pelche, he didn't do anything. But Andrei Kuzmenko scored a beautiful goal to make it a 3-2 game after the Flyers fell into a 3-0 hole in the first period. And when he scored that goal, everyone was like, oh my God, like this is not over. Like the Flyers are going to make this a game. And then of course they didn't. They fumbled the bag, but it was an electrifying goal. And Andrei Kuzmenko is just fun. Like he's a fun dude he's got a great attitude. He's all like, you talk to him in the locker room after a win, he's got the biggest smile on his face. Like some guys after a win, even if it's a big win, they'll come into the locker room and talk to the media and they'll be happy that they won the game. But for them, it's all business.
Jalen Hurts?
No, well, yes. But you'll see Sean Couturier come in and for him, it's not like he's, throwing zingers out left and right. You know what I mean? But
if Sean Couturier, I would actually be concerned for Sean Couturier if he started throwing zingers around.
Throwing zingers around, I'd be like,
are you okay?
He's on drugs, Steve.
Just like Jalen Hurts. That was when we knew Jalen Hurts was on painkillers when he started throwing. He was like, whether wind or snow or rain.
Yeah,
the Eagles van has come again or something. Like he had some weird rhyme where you're like, oh, that man's on painkillers.
Yeah, it was crazy. But like Andrei Kuzmenko is he's got like such a fun, infectious personality. And I could easily see if if the Flyers re-sign him and they keep him around for another year, maybe 2 years, I could see Flyers PR coming up to him and saying like, can you please do stuff with Gritty? Because it would be perfect.
Yeah, Kuzmenko would be perfect. I mean, TK is an obvious one.
Yeah.
I don't want Matvei Mishkov having any distractions.
No.
Matvei Mishkov, you are a hockey machine. I don't want you doing anything else.
And Frank, actually, you know what? I could kind of see Mishkov doing it. Like,
he loves being a Flyer.
I could see him doing it, not all the time, but like he sure does love social media. Like he's always updating his story on IG. He's, he loves posting stuff and photos. Like anytime a photo is taken of him, he'll take a photo that was taken of him the night before during a game and he'll post it, like, especially if it's like he made a big play. Like he likes to kind of get that clout. So I think it would be funny if he did that. So maybe not rule that out, but Andrei Kuzmenko for sure. I could see doing it. You know who else I could like randomly see like being Gritty's best friend is Bobby Brink.
Oh yeah, I'm into that big time.
I could see that.
Brink's got a great smile for it. He's got that big like joyful smile.
He's got that boyish smile.
Yes, very much so.
I think that would be kind of a funny dynamic there. But
So we got some candidates for the new best friend if it comes to that. But we'll see what happens. But, as it currently stands, there are apparently a lot of teams in the mix for Scott Laughton. And I don't have the latest in front of me, but last I heard there were up to like 8 teams potentially in the mix. But there's also a lot of other gritty forwards available that could fill the role. So a lot is up in the air right now. We keep hearing one team in particular, though, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The Leaves.
The Leaves. I think you should Leaves.
The Maple Leaves are certainly, apparently, rumored to be coming for that ass, Steve. They seem to really want Scott Laughton.
They love grit and leadership now. In the post-Kyle Dubas world, they need grit and leadership and nothing else.
Yeah, they're really considering it. And, I think what makes the Scott Laughton situation very interesting to me now is the trade that went down earlier today on Wednesday, March 5th, between the Tampa Bay Lightning, Seattle Kraken, and Detroit Red Wings. So basically, the Lightning traded for Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde and a prospect. And they got like a 5th round pick in 2026 or something. You know what they gave up to get them, Steve?
What's that, Quigs?
A 1st round pick in 2026,
wow.
A 1st round pick in 2027.
Oh, wow.
A 2nd round pick this year.
Wow.
And they got a prospect as well. And so basically both of the 1st round picks are top 10 protected. But
it's Tampa Bay Lightning, they ain't falling in the top 10.
Yeah, but they got Seattle to retain 50% on Yanni Gourde. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts. I can't believe, how that is a haul. And so you're looking at this and you're saying Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde, 2 firsts and a 2nd and a prospect. Sounds to me like Scott Laughton could probably get traded for a 1st. Honestly, to me, it sounds like that could happen. And we've heard that. I believe it was Darren Dreger, who basically said, a lot of 8 teams have reached out to the Flyers and are circling Scott Laughton. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could get a 1st round pick, if not more. That's essentially what he said. So it's at this point, if the Flyers trade Scott Laughton, which is still an if, it's not a guarantee. But if they do, and they don't get a 1st round pick, that is a failure to me. I think that is not good. Or a good roster player in return. But to me, the more likely scenario would be get that 1st round pick for Scott Laughton. And if you can get anything more, that's a bonus. I think if you get a 1st for Scott Laughton, that's a slam dunk.
So. I agree completely. I think the 1st is the big thing. That's what people keep citing as the previous failure by the Flyers in. There was some report out there that a 1st had been offered for Scott Laughton and they turned it down, and people are furious about that. And the thing is, it's a report. We don't know that that's what was that's what happened. But in this case, we're getting a lot of reports that a 1st could be on the table here, if not more. And we're recording this on March 5th. This is going to be coming out early March 6th, which is Thursday. The trade deadline is March 7th. Are you expecting a deal to come down to the wire? We're not going to see a finished deal until 2 hours before the deadline hits? I
mean, I don't think that would be a bad idea to kind of wait it out because, from what we're hearing, it sounds like there's some, it's almost like what's it called? Not a bargain. A
bidding war.
Bidding war. Yeah. It sounds like there's a bidding war a little bit happening right now. Maybe not intense, but it sounds like there are a lot of teams who are interested in Laughton. And, all it takes is a couple teams. So if it comes down to Friday and you still have 2 teams who are like, hey, we really want Scott Laughton, let them battle it out for the best offer, So I think it would be in the Flyers' best interest to you know, kind of wait it out a little bit and see how they can maximize their return. Because, you know, you could get an offer tonight and you could say, all right, we accept. Trade Scott Laughton's all yours. We'll take a first. But if you wait through Thursday and then through, you know, Friday afternoon, who's to say that a better offer wouldn't come in where you get a first and a prospect and maybe a third round pick in a couple of years? You know what I mean? So like, I think it would behoove the Flyers to listen to every offer they can get.
There's more.
Exactly. That's what you want. You want that infomercial voice to come on when, you know, the Flyers announce the trade, or when the trade is announced by Elliot Friedman, you know? So I think that would be a good idea, is to wait it out. You don't want to wait too long, because then you risk the chance of like teams saying, oh, well, clearly, like, you know, we need someone right now, so we're just going to go find a guy somewhere else and screw you for trying to, you know, nickel and dime us. But I do think it would be beneficial to wait until, you know, Thursday night, Friday morning, and see what you can get.
That's all the game, you know, and I'm sure Danny Briere has kind of his dream deal in his head, right? Like,
yeah,
this is what I really want. And he's also probably got his compromise deal. So I have the tweet from Darren Dreger, who said, as many as 8 teams swirling around the Flyers with calls on Scott Laughton. The center market is shrinking, so Briere is in no rush. First round picks are in play, but there could be room for improvement as the week unfolds. Number one, the fact that we're calling him a center here is pretty freaking funny. I mean, he has been playing center lately, and it's been pretty good. I mean, he's been playing with Konechny and Kuzmenko, which is, you know, a pretty nice, and he's gotten some power play time, but largely, especially over the last like 2-3 years, Scott Laughton's been mainly playing wing.
Yeah.
So the fact that other GMs are thinking of him as a center is funny. And hey, look, the Flyers are leaning into it right now. That's actually one of the things about the Morgan Frost trade that's kind of worked out as a happy coincidence, or maybe they did this on purpose, but it's given the Flyers more of a chance to feature Laughton as a center for these other teams. And center's great. Like, a guy who can play center gives a team versatility, because it's such a desired position in the hockey world right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it could be more calculated than, you know, the Frost trade, getting rid of him. Maybe it was calculated to the point where it's like, hey, you know, if we trade him, we could play Scott Laughton at center, and then GMs will eat that up. And then they'll be more inclined to give up more assets at the trade deadline if we decide to trade him. So that could be it. But yeah, it is funny though, because you're right. For the several years now, he's been a wing. Like, no one has really considered Scott Laughton a center. We've seen him do it before, and he's not like bad as a center, but I do feel like he's more of a wing than a center at this point in his career. But hey, whatever GMs think, you know, if they think, you know, if you get them to believe that he's a center, that raises his value. So good on the Flyers for, you know, kind of putting him at center ice the last, you know, few weeks in the lead up to the trade deadline. I think that's a smart idea.
All you got to do is believe, folks. That's all you got to do, and dreams come true. It is a weird world we're living in, where Scott Laughton is a much more desired trade target than Rasmus Ristolainen, because I feel like we've spent the entire season raving over the new and improved Risto, and I guess the contract is kind of scary there, and legitimately the injury history is scary. Like, Scott Laughton has been a consistent presence in the Flyers lineup for the most part. Like, he's been consistent in a lot of ways. Like, he's never been a big point producer, but he can put points up. He can score a goal. The big thing with Laughton is that presence. It is that locker room glue guy. And I think that's what teams are really going after. Ristolainen rumors, I mean, we had that report from Kevin Kurz last week where they were saying that the Flyers have only gotten a few calls on him. The Heat's really died down on that one. I have heard the Dallas Stars a potential suitor still, but it's looking increasingly like a deal might not get done until the draft, if at all. But I don't know. I'm okay with that, frankly.
The way he's been playing, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Flyers keep Risto, because he has been playing very. I think you could argue he's been the Flyers' best defenseman the last few weeks. Like, he's been good. He's been really good. So I think, it wouldn't be the worst thing if the Flyers keep him. I would optimally like to move him and see if you can get a first round pick for him, but I do think it would be difficult without retaining salary. I think it would be hard to do. But also, like, the Seth Jones trade, like, to me, that kind of makes things a little more interesting, because Seth Jones hasn't exactly lit the world on fire. He hasn't been putting up good numbers in Chicago. And then that didn't matter much. The Blackhawks ended up getting quite a good return for him in Spencer Knight, and I believe also a first round pick for Seth Jones from the Florida Panthers. So I think if it comes down to it and a team's desperate, you got to listen. If they who knows, maybe a team will offer a first for Risto out of flat out desperation. A lot of things, like I said last week, a lot of things can happen between now and the trade deadline. And I know at this point we're less than 2 days away from the trade deadline, but even then, like, look at the New Jersey Devils right now. I mean,
falling apart, Quigs. I hate to see it.
Jack Hughes is out for the season. He's totally
that is a shame for the game, because Jack Hughes is an exciting player. But as a professional hater of the New Jersey Devils,
it's great.
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
it's amazing.
I feel bad for Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is a legitimately exciting player, but, like, fuck the Devils.
Well, but then also Dougie Hamilton is week to week now. So, like, everything, they're dropping like flies in Newark, Steve. It's probably the air pollution. They should about that. But, I think that's all. It's all crashing down in a matter of like 2 days for the Devils. Like,
it's a shame.
So who knows what can happen? Like, all of a sudden they're sellers. Or you would think they're sellers, like, because there would be no point in buying at this stage.
But at the same time, like, they're third in the division? Like,
right.
They're probably still going to make the playoffs. And, when you're a savvy businessman like Josh Harris, you got to make every penny you can.
It's true.
Oh, boy. Yeah. I mean, that is a factor for owners. Like, I'm sure Comcast hasn't been overjoyed with the Flyers rebuilding process over the last, like, forever at this point. They're very anxious for the Flyers to make it back in the playoffs, but thankfully it seems like the current ownership, the current leadership group, rather, with Hilferty and co, is supporting Danny Briere and Keith Jones in this rebuilding process and letting them make the proper moves. I always go back to Sean Walker. That was a significant deal for me, because they didn't have to trade Sean Walker. They
didn't have to trade him, and if they did decide to keep him, Flyers are going to the playoffs, Steve. If they keep Sean Walker last season, they're going to the playoffs.
They probably do, because he was a stabilizing force on that defense. He was their best defenseman last year.
Yeah,
and that was a big deal for me. So, and then Frost and Farabee. That's a huge trade for this team. Like, that is a huge trade as far as, like, clearing up cap space, moving on from players, to trade a center away.
And locker room dynamic, too, because I know Joel Farabee, that we talk about the Dojoel. What is it? The Casa house. Yeah. So,
but, like, essentially Joel Farabee would house a lot of the players,
Right,
and him and Frosty, by the way, I heard they're living together in the Calgary area and driving a truck.
They have a truck together. How beautiful is
that? They're adorable. I kind of miss them, but at the same time I don't, because, like, I was a little miffed about that trade at first, and that's because I thought there were more parts to it. But, like, seeing their numbers since they've gone, seeing how the Flyers have played without them, and also just looking at the bigger picture, like, I get it. I get why they made that deal.
Not much has changed for the Flyers since they left, honestly.
Honestly, it probably played better at times.
Yeah.
And I love Joel Farabee, but, man, he's been a disappointment for them. Like, I don't know what he needs, or if his career will ever get back to where it looked like it was going before the injury. It was a neck injury, right?
Yeah.
Which is tough to come back from. I mean, like, that's one of those things that there are certain injuries you get depending on the severity that your body's never quite the same. This is obviously a completely different thing, but like, for people who watched like late 90s Saturday Night Live, Chris Kattan was a very physical comedic actor, and he busted up his neck on the show at some point. And like, if you see him now, like he really can't move like his head that well. And, you know, we're talking about a comedian, not an athlete, but like neck injuries can mess you up, and anything that throws off your game just makes you a different player. So, you know, I don't want to make excuses, but like, I think that definitely was a factor in why he's never quite reached the heights that we thought he was going to. Whatever it may be, it was good for the Flyers to move on, and it was big for the Flyers to move on. And it shows that they're not afraid to make moves that change the dynamic of this team. So trading Scott Laughton, that's going to trade a lot of that's going to change a lot of dynamics in that locker room right there. And you're very quickly looking at a team that they're building around Matvei Mishkov, Jet Luchenko, maybe Bonk. You know, a lot of these younger guys. Obviously, Travis Konechny is a big figure still. He's not the youngest guy on the team, but he ain't the oldest guy on the team. Yeah. And he's the best player on the team. So, like, these are your dynamics right now. Like, Konechny's obviously a leader. Couturier's a leader. And who knows what's going to happen with Couturier over the next few years, but he definitely ain't going anywhere for like 2-3 years. Yeah. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's Mishkov's team. And they are going to build around Mishkov. And I am increasingly confident that they are focused on that goal and not attached to these guys that they've worked with over the past like 5 years that have not worked out.
You shouldn't be. I don't think you should be attached to those guys. You need to make tough decisions right now. Like this is what a rebuild is about. Like when you get a guy like Mishkov, you need to build around Mishkov, and that means getting rid of some of your wingers that you love and bringing in some centers. Because there's
bringing in some defensemen too. I mean, like I like the defensive group, but like I think especially if you trade Ristolainen away, you have to think about the physicality. You have a lot of very talented offensive guys, but like you don't have a ton of physicality. And an interesting move, by the way, if we're talking physical right-handed defenseman, the Pittsburgh Penguins acquired a physical right-handed defenseman today. I don't know why they pulled this move because they flat out stink. It's a stupid move. I don't understand the Penguins at all. But the Pittsburgh Penguins acquired our old friend, Luke Schenn.
He's back in Pennsylvania.
Back in PA. We all missed him in the state. Luke Schenn, who I groaned about. I hated that JVR trade. I still don't like it, but ended up being not the worst defenseman of that Flyers era of defensemen, mainly because the other guys were really freaking terrible. Luke Schenn, to his credit, has put together a really long career and played for half the teams in the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's actually an interesting trade. So basically Penguins get Luke Schenn and Tommy Novak from the Nashville Predators for Michael Bunting and a 2026 4th-round pick. Tommy Novak's an interesting guy. I think he's like he's like starting to enter his prime age. He's a center. He showed some really, really good promise. Well, actually, at this point, I think he's actually beyond his prime age, or like right in the middle of it. I think he's like 26, 27 years old. But he showed some serious promise last season or the last couple seasons, really, when he got a little bit more playing time. In 51 games in 2022-23, he had 43 points in 51 games. That's pretty good. Yeah. Last season, 45 points in 71 games. This season, he hasn't been as great, but Tommy Novak's interesting. So not a bad move for the Penguins in terms of getting Novak.
27 years old is Tommy Novak at this point.
27. Okay.
Yeah. But man,
so
I guess it's not a bad move, but like it's a real who gives a shit move, because if you look at the standings, the Penguins they have 58 points in 64 games played. They're ninth in the East overall, or ninth in the the wild card standing. They're 15th in the East overall, so they stink. And then the Nashville Predators also stink. They have 51 points in 61 games played, 14th in the West. Two bad teams making a really just like kind of Oh,
a hockey trade.
Yeah, it is a hockey trade, that's for sure. But like, are the Penguins going to try and move Luke Shen from here for further assets? Like, I really don't understand that at all. Or maybe they're going to trade somebody else. Maybe Christopher Letang's going to move on, Doc.
That was an interesting thought that I saw. I can't remember who it was, but I saw like a national reporter tweet something like, yeah, a lot of people are like waiting to see if a second shoe is going to drop and the Penguins are going to flip Luke Shen. Not necessarily, like that could happen, but like they also think he brings good leadership and this and that.
Big whoop.
The Penguins ain't going to the playoffs, so I don't know why they'd be bringing in leadership. You got Sidney Crosby.
They sure aren't, buddy. They got Sidney Crosby, they got Malkin, they got Letang. Like, they got leadership.
Yeah.
Unless they decide that they're going to trade
it. Yeah.
Sidney Crosby. I think they should do that.
That'd be fun.
But I want it so bad.
It'd be really funny.
Because it's going to piss.
I really don't think it's going to happen.
Penguins fans are going to be crying into their coleslaw in the streets of Pittsburgh. They're going to be like
into their French fry sandwiches.
They're going to be like putting memorials on their yellow bridges. Like, it's going to be just, it would be so good. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, I think Sid is 100% going to retire there. You never know.
Because it's his choice. Really, it's his choice. Like,
sometimes Matt Sundin plays a season in Vancouver. It happens. Sometimes Mike Modano plays a season in Detroit.
This is true. Sometimes Claude Giroux plays a season in Florida, and then Ottawa, and then Ottawa, and then Ottawa,
and then Philadelphia,
and then Philadelphia the next year, and then
he plays with Matvei Mishkov.
Wins the cup with Mishkov.
Listen, Mishkov, Luchenko, Giroux, or Giroux, Luchenko, Mishkov. Success.
Profit.
Yeah. Oh, there will definitely be profit if 28 comes back. But yeah. I mean, look, I ain't getting my hopes up for that one. Claude's playing at a great level for his age, but I also can't see Claude ever leaving Ottawa. He seems like, despite his cars getting stolen, and I mean cars multiple, he seems to be having a great time raising his kids there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, he's. It seems like he's. Things are going pretty well. Off the ice at least, but
yeah, except for the cars.
Except for the car. Unrelated, completely unrelated. Alex Ovechkin now 10 goals away.
Oh, wow. That's a very big deal. And
he's going to do it.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to do it. Like, the fact that he's there,
he's going to do 10 goals away.
Yeah.
This season, he's doing it.
Oh, I saw a bet on one of the sites, I forget which one, that he was going to do it this season, and the odds were like negative 270 for him doing it this season. Like, Vegas is 100% on the OV train, and him getting one tonight is very, that's a good indicator that it's going to happen this year. It's incredible, and the season he's having at his age. How old is Ovi at this point?
39.
Jesus Christ. Like, nobody should be able to score goals. Like, I don't understand the Capitals at all. Like, that's a team that definitely made a deal with the devil in some way. Like, I don't understand it, but it's a hell of a story for the game. And the fact that Ovechkin is going to go down as the greatest goal scorer of all time, break a record that I don't think anybody thought was ever going to get broken, especially in the modern era with goalies as good as they are.
And dude, you know what's scary about the Capitals right now is, like, even when Ovechkin retires, they're still going to be so good for so long because they have so many, they have a number of good players right now. So, like, Tom Wilson is not going to age well, but he's still playing well at the moment. But then they went out, they got Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's been playing pretty well. You still have...
I was still shocked that worked out for them. Everybody thought that was just a trash for trash trade.
But you have Dylan Strome, who's been playing well.
Strome has been a surprise. Like, I really can't believe Dylan Strome is like their best player and they're that good. But I guess Dylan Strome has hit his prime and just needed a chance to shine. I guess haven't paid attention to the Capitals because, like, I don't believe it. Like, it seems like I don't know I guess I just don't know who the Capitals are. Well, I don't understand.
But then you look at the back end. You got Matt Waugh or Roy. I think it's Waugh. Matt Waugh, who's like a legitimately good defenseman. Jacob Chikrin's been great. And then, dude, that's not even to mention their farm system. They got Ryan Leonard. who is, and we were talking about this in the Slack chat a little bit earlier, but like Ryan Leonard was drafted right after Matvei Michkov. If the Flyers didn't get Matvei Michkov, I would have wanted them to get Ryan Leonard because he is such a junkyard dog with rabies. He's a nutcase, and he's so talented and such a like. He's one of those like drag you into the fight guys. So
I'm just thinking about when the Flyers played the Ducks and Cutter Gauthier was trying to stay out of the scrub and Garnet Hathaway did Scorpion, get over here.
Yeah. But the Caps, man, they're going to be good for a long time. That
sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know. It's crazy.
We have too many teams in this division that are going to be good for a long time because like the Devils, all their talent's young and it's just horrible. The Penguins are finally dying out. The Rangers seem to be just, I don't know what the hell the Rangers are, but they don't seem to be on the upswing. And Carolina's incredibly well run. And I'm trying to think, and Columbus has come out of nowhere. And Columbus has a ton of young talent right now, and they're kicking ass too.
The Flyers they're making moves. They're slow.
Oh, I feel good about the Flyers. Yeah. I just wish the rest of the division was trash.
Yeah.
Like I would enjoy that. But the thing to keep it in perspective is Matvei Michkov's 20 years old. The future is very bright. Jet Luchenko's 19. Like, is he 19 or is he 18? I think he's 19.
No, I think he's 18 still.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, these guys are very freaking young. They're nowhere near their primes. So, like, and Tyson Forrester's young. Like, we got some good damn young talent. Yeah. And we got, 3 first-round picks coming up this year? Maybe more, depending on what the Scott Laughton deal or Rasmus Ristolainen deal brings. They got a lot of draft picks coming up.
Jet Luchenko doesn't turn 19 until August 21st.
Oh, you love to see it. You love to see it.
Remember when he made the Flyers, he had just turned 18.
It's insane. That's insane. I just am stunned by it. So yeah, the future is bright and it's going to be really interesting, but starts now. We got to see what the kind of moves they pull right now. So trade deadlines in 2 days. We have no idea what's going to happen yet, but we feel very confident at this point that Scott Laughton is probably getting traded away. So we'll miss you, Scooty Lutz, but at the same time, it's best for the team to move on, especially if you can get the assets that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the name of the game that you have to play right now. Get what you can. The Flyers are still rebuilding, dude. Like, get those assets and then use those assets.
Use those assets to go big game hunting.
Yes. Go hunt some elk. That's what I want. I want some elk.
Go get me a Wyatt Johnston.
Yeah. Get me an Elias Pettersson, man.
Yeah. I just want like a high-end guy.
I know he hasn't been playing well. Maybe this is the time that you get him. While
buy
his
low.
value is down, I believe in Elias Pettersson. He's a 100-point player.
The talent's there.
Yeah. The talent is there. I think he needs to change his scenery.
And Vancouver made the right play by trading Miller. Like, that was the guy to trade there. Like, yeah. That's what they had to do. So, okay, we're getting close to end of the show right here. Is there anybody else interesting, not necessarily in the Flyers ecosphere here, if that's the proper term, as far as the trade deadline goes that you're watching right now?
I mean, I know one of the more popular players being kind of rumored about is Brock Nelson.
Brock Nelson's up there, and I've seen the Islanders do a lot of posturing that they're going to try and re-sign him to an extension. And, Nelson's fine, but like, that's a guy like, the Islanders really have to get realistic about their prospects because they stink. And that's the kind of guy they should be moving on from themselves. But hey, if they want to re-sign Brock Nelson for like 3 years, go nuts, guys.
Yeah. Well, so there's Brock Nelson. There's also Besser, who
Besser's
is
a big
very
one.
good. It seems like Vancouver's they're just going wild right now. So And then, of course,
Vancouver was like a goal away from being in the Western Conference Final last year.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then on top of that, we haven't even talked about Mikko Rantanen. Like, what are the Hurricanes going to do with Mikko Rantanen? There's a really good chance that they flip him, and they just traded for him. So, like, who knows what's going to happen with some of these players? It's nuts. It's crazy.
It is nuts.
There are probably some like wild card players who we don't know about that could get traded as well. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm looking right now at the Chris Johnston trade board over on The Athletic. So Nelson's number 1, Besser's number 2, Ryan Donato is number 3 from the Blackhawks. Rickard Rakell from the Penguins is number 5. Any other interesting names? Jake Evans was up there, but Jake Evans just signed an extension with Montreal, so you can take him off. Brandon Tanev, let's all do the pose.
Riley Smith was, I believe, held out of a game due to like trade candidates or like due to trade reasons. So it's interesting. Apparently there's a rumor that apparently he was that he refused a trade to a Canadian team. Riley Smith did. So that's interesting.
That is interesting. Okay. Interesting name on here. Bowen Byram's on there, who the Sabres just got last season in the deal for Casey Middlestat.
Dylan Cousins, he's on there.
Yeah,
that's been a popular guy that's been linked to the Flyers.
I would love to see the Flyers take advantage of the Sabres in some way. After, I feel like we need revenge for the Risto deal.
Honestly, yeah. I'm not totally sold on Dylan Cousins, but like I could see why.
Oh my God, did Ovi score? No, he didn't score that. Sorry, the Caps just won in overtime, and I just was like, for a second, I thought Ovi scored it, but I don't even think he was on the ice.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Dylan Cousins, but I feel like that would be the type of player that the Flyers could like try, like get him and see if they can like fix him. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm down to try some projects for the right price. That's the interesting thing is it's all about that price at the end of the day. Who was it? Was it Strome? It was Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson scored the winner. So Caps win again. They're just up there as one of the best teams in the NHL. I know they have some young talent. I'm still like stunned at how good that team is, but hey, whatever. Yeah, those are most of the interesting names I see on there. Rantanen's a fascinating one. Like the fact that I thought that was a great deal for the Hurricanes, and the fact that they might have to trade him is like wild.
It's just not working out for him. I mean, he hasn't been playing that well since showing up in Carolina. So
yeah, and he hasn't signed that extension yet either.
I think that's the main thing is, is he going to stay? Like, has he told the team, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to re-sign with you guys? Like, that's kind of a big caveat. So
I'm just glad ultimately that the Flyers aren't the Penguins. Like, obviously, I'd love to trade for all their cups in the past, 20 years. But as far as the current situation goes, I'd much rather be the Flyers because the Penguins are in denial. The Penguins are in absolute denial over their future. They're doing these stupid ticky-tacky moves for like Luke Schenn and shit. They need to be trading everything they can because this is a team that needs to lose, tank out this season, and rebuild sooner rather than later. Because, like, look, Crosby's going to stick around, right? But, like, Malkin and Letang of your big three, they're the lesser members of the big three. Erik Karlsson is on the trade board. I would have, like, the fact that they traded for Erik Karlsson in the first place was hilarious to me because it was like, why are you trading for this guy? You guys are sunsetting and you traded for an old guy. What are you doing?
I think they were trying to do right by their veteran players. So they were trying to do right by Crosby, do right by Malkin, do right by Letang, and stay competitive until the wheels absolutely fell off. Well, guess what, Steve? Wheels are falling off.
Sure are, pal.
Now there's no turning back now. Like you got to ride it out, and you have to just, it's going to be a long road back to contention, I would think. Because Crosby's not getting better. Malkin is not getting better. Letang sucks now. So, yeah, it's not great for Pittsburgh at all.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. You hate to see it.
Hate to see it. What a shame.
You cry yourself to sleep every night thinking about it.
They should be selling everything they can. Like Carlson should be gone already. Like they should be selling everything. I'm very glad they're not. Like, good job, guys. Keep spinning those wheels. Keep doing a bunch of bullshit. Just try futilely to win. I love it. You stink, and that's what you deserve. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating deadline. We're already saying goodbye to Scooty Lutz, but I also wouldn't be shocked if he didn't get moved. I wouldn't be shocked I wouldn't be shocked if their biggest move already happened with Frost and Farabee. But
yeah,
we shall see, folks.
I wouldn't be shocked with anything. Anything can happen over the next 48 hours. So
exactly. All right, folks. We're gonna head on out of here. I got a puppy that I think needs to go outside. I can't quite tell, but we're gonna find out. If you have any feedback for us, the best place is on social media. The best place to find me is on Blue Sky because Twitter sucks. You can find me over at Blue Sky at Flyperbole or at Esteban. If it's for hockey purposes, make it Flyperbole. You can also find Flyperbole on Instagram and TikTok as well. Oh, wow. How about that? Quigs, where can people find you on the socials?
Find me at Blue Sky at Ryan Quigs with a Z. You can find me on Twitter too, but I'm not tweeting on Twitter anymore. I'm just using it to track Elliot Friedman, basically.
Yeah, Elliot Friedman, come over to Blue Sky for the love of God. Please.
Yeah, we don't need to be on Twitter.
So. No, nobody needs to be on there. All right, folks, we are going to head on out of here. Thank you so much for listening. We truly love and appreciate you all. And until next time, in the words of the great Gene Hart, good night and good hockey. Wow, 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 wow.